Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. Let's get to it.
Anthony for three. That one goes down, and the game is tied.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
The Yankees are champions of baseball.
Shaking and baking right here on the neophyte.
U.S. trying to close the show. She was doing a great job of feeding that. It's over.
Don't you regret not coming to the net? Don't you regret not coming to the net?
Game over. World Series over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
All right, welcome to the podcast, everybody. Episode 717 of BD4. 717. We are doing a Yankees playoff preview once again in this show. This is a part 2 to the playoff preview that we did a few days ago. I believe for episode 716, we had Russ join us from NY Yankee Dad on Instagram to talk about this upcoming postseason. And for this playoff preview, our part 2, we had a returning guest. He's been on the show quite a number of times so far. Greg Gill from Yankee Crazy Podcast, which he records once every 8 years. He joined us. No, we talked some Yankees postseason baseball. We reviewed some of the regular season. And at the end, stay tuned because we dive into a deep analytics discussion at the very end of the show, so you want to stay tuned for that. But that's what we're going to get into in this show. We're going to jump right into it in just a few minutes. I do want to start off by saying I appreciate the couple of new subscribers I got from the last episode on YouTube. I had a couple of new YouTube subscribers after episode 716 with Russ. So I appreciate that, man. He obviously got a few people to come join. So appreciate it. Welcome to the show. Every new subscriber, every new listener, wherever you are, I appreciate you all. Yes, this is BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We do Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion. But we are definitely talking Yankees in this episode 716. So, with that said, Greg Gill is going to join us in just a few minutes, but we are going to get to a real brief break, and when we return from our first break here, we're going to get to our trivia question early, get that out of the way, and then we will dive right in to this discussion with Greg and I. Now, real briefly, before we do get to that later, or in a few minutes rather, I was in a different setting. I was not in the studio. My internet is down, so I had to record in the garage. And I'm also pretty sure that I was using the tablet mic and not the mic that I thought I had connected. So the audio wasn't great, and hopefully the audio also didn't pick up the fan in the garage. So it might not be the most high quality episode, but we get our points across. It was good enough. It's what I had to work with at the time. So that is that. I hope you all appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the show. But let's get to a brief break. Get back. We'll get to our trivia to start things off. And then we will get into the thick of the show with Greg and I talking Yankees playoff baseball. Stay with us.
Hey there. Thanks for listening in so far. If you enjoy this episode, please give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much. You can follow us on social media as well. On Instagram, we're at BD4Pod and at Rob J. Carbone. On X, we're at BD4 Pod and at RJCBD4. And on Facebook, we're BD4.
All right, let's get to our trivia, and then we'll get right into the show. Okay, so for this episode 717 of the podcast, name the last 3 World Series MVP winners for the Yankees. All right, name the last 3 World Series MVP winners for the Yankees. And that is our trivia for this question. One last time, to name the last 3 World Series MVP winners for the Yankees. Folks, with that said, let's dive into this episode with Greg Gill from Yankee Crazy Podcast. Greg from Yankee Crazy Podcast joins us. Him and I talk Yankees playoff baseball. We grade the regular season. And at the end, we dive deep into an analytics discussion. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get into it. And we'll start that up right now.
If you're interested in our website, just go to www.bd4blog.com. You can subscribe to our blog on there right on the front page. Just like on the podcast, we cover Yankees, Knicks, and MMA. Also on our website are the links to the different platforms for the podcast. Thanks so much.
Studio 69 Productions is a podcast production agency created by Leo Rodriguez to allow content creators to market their podcast. It's an online platform that will market your podcast or any other project that you're working on. Get in touch with Leo Rodriguez from Studio 69 Productions. You can find Studio 69 Productions on Instagram at Studio69NJ. Studio 69 Productions, where dreams are heard and born.
Thanks for listening to BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA, Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion.
Right, I remember hearing that
Yeah.
he went there. Oh my goodness.
Jake Bowers hit the first one, and then some other dude hit the second. So they're down 2-0 in the 8th or 9th inning. Let me look at the score right now. Hold on. Oh, fuck. They just scored 3 in the top of the 9th.
No.
Let me see how that happened. Yeah, somebody from the Mets just hit it. It's 3-2.
Oh my God.
I have no idea how that just happened. Well, now I'm annoyed. I was just talking shit to all my buddies.
Oh my goodness. Dude, that's crazy. I was watching Frank the Tank with Mad Dog, a clip of them talking about the Mets and playoffs in general. And Mad Dog was like, he's like, I think the Mets are just resilient. It's the way their season's going. They're going to come back and win. And
Alonso just hit a 3-run shot. So
wow.
that really annoys me. Gosh.
Oh my
Whatever.
God, dude.
They'll lose in the next round. I don't give a shit.
That is crazy.
Gosh damn, that makes me mad. All right. Let me just okay. So yeah, dude, I'm so thrilled for this upcoming Saturday, man. I'm nervous, but like I'm excited and everything. And we're gonna talk about it. But the way we're gonna go through this episode, I think we're gonna give out grades, but we're gonna do it in groups. Like we'll grade the lineup as a whole. We'll do the rotation, the bullpen, the fundamentals of the team, and then we'll grade the Yankees overall. Then we'll talk about a couple X factors that we think It's coming up in the postseason. I want one hot take, and then we'll talk about just the rotation lineup, all that heading into the playoffs, the confidence level and stuff. And, hopefully that don't take longer than 25 minutes. So
Sure.
maybe, a little longer than that, but
Whatever it takes.
all right. So what are your thoughts on the overall season? I mean, obviously I know your thoughts, but for those listening, what do you think about the overall season? How do you think the Yankees finished? 94 wins, division, best record in the American League to get home field throughout the AL playoffs.
Yeah, obviously overall a good season with, getting the best record in the AL and winning the East. Although that was due in large part to that amazing, was it May that they had where they went like 21-7?
Yeah, like April and May, really.
Yeah, that was just sick. But then they went down to 500, as we know. And, towards the end of the season, maybe end of August, I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
This team is just fading. But they held on, obviously, and finished pretty strong at the end there. I was feeling pretty confident with that team at the end of the season, except for, that last series didn't really matter. So that was like, whatever. But I've got a lot of, hopefully it's not false hope with this team, but I am fired up. I am so stoked for the playoffs to start on Saturday. And I'm excited because I think the Yankees have a really good shot of going far.
Yeah. I've been telling everybody if there's going to be a year, it's got to be this one. You've said it before. The American League is I don't want to call it weak because I actually prefer the balanced competition. Yeah. That's just the way I look at it. I'd rather this than having like one team that is going to go through it, like a Houston in the past. But I like the way it's set up for the Yankees. I think they have the best roster, but sometimes the way it goes down is whoever gets the hottest around this time of year. So, Detroit's feeling good right now, but obviously Kansas City is coming into the series hot. But before we dive into the series, like I said, I want to give some grades out to the Yankees, how some of these units performed in the regular season. So I want to start by grading the lineup. You can start by giving the lineup a grade A through F, and then I'll follow you.
All right, lineup. It's, you could pick this team apart with, what part of the season. The lineup. I'll just start off before I, formulate some more, starting with, I really love this year the consistency that the Yankees had. It wasn't like last year where it was like you never knew what was going on. They were putting, you basically, besides the leadoff spot, which changed a bunch, Soto, Judge, Wells, even the cleanup spot. I think really helping solidify that was Soto and Judge.
Yeah.
And then during different times, it wasn't like, let's throw a new leadoff hitter in there. Let's throw a different cleanup batter, because we had some consistency with Volpe for a while, and then they kind of saw he wasn't doing it. And then I can't remember who was in there, but I this year I'm going to remember Volpe being that leadoff guy for a long time, and then Glaber to finish it, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're going to see, because Glaber actually started hitting pretty well in that first spot. And then also earlier in the year, we had Verdugo there for a while in the cleanup spot.
Yep.
And then Wells took over. And I think that's going to stay too, that having that consistent lineup in the playoffs with Glaber, Soto, Judge, Wells, Stanton, most likely, unless they flip-flop Stanton and Wells. But, I love that part of it. I give them an A for their consistency and sticking with guys and not just being all willy-nilly with it. But the lineup as a total offensive production, they ranked really high this year. So I got to give that, besides some guys just not producing at certain times over the years, I got to say a B+ for that.
Yeah,
maybe A-, because you look at that production and it was really great.
Yeah, I would probably say B plus if Soto and Judge didn't do what they did, but they pushed me over the edge. So I went A minus as well. I just think it was very, productive. I think I try to be as fair as I can because I know throughout the entire 162 there are going to be cold spells and that just happens. But there are definitely things I'm worried about, which I'm going to dive into later as we get into the show. But I would agree with an A minus, B plus, anywhere in that range. Rotation. I want to get your thoughts on the overall rotation. Maybe grade that.
Yeah, again, I feel like big differences between the first half and second half. Obviously, Garrett Cole coming more towards the second half. But the rotation was strong early in the year, and then guys like Stroman started to slump.
Yep.
Even Heel, at the end looked, whether it was tired or what going on with him, since this is the most innings he's thrown. Rodon having a really solid year. I thought it was great having him as a consistent part of this rotation without Cole being there. Nestor hitting his stride a little bit. It's too bad he got injured there late in the year. But he was down, but Stroman was good early. Rodon was really good early. Heel was like an amazing thing to come out. So, overall, I would have to say, the pitching was there for a lot of this season. So I would have to say probably B plus as well for them. It was a pretty solid year.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, I'm like right next to that. I have a B because I thought they were also solid. I thought, like you said, at the beginning of the year without Garrett Cole, seeing Luis Heel do what he did for 2 months, he was on fire, I think, in the month of May.
Yeah.
And then, Rodon had a couple bumps in a row bumps in the road mid-season, but he really has kept a consistent, every 5 days he's out there giving you 5+, 6+. So, Stroman had his moments in the first half. Overall, he was whatever. He was fine. Nestor Cortez had a good year. Very versatile for them. And then, guys coming back. Clark Schmidt looked good. Garrett Cole has looked fine since he's come back. He started to look better and better. So I would agree. It was a solid rotation this year. I just went with the B. And we'll go to the bullpen. What do you think about the bullpen? This is an interesting one. I'm curious to hear what you think about the pen.
Yeah, this is definitely a tricky one because it has changed so much this year. Like, I think it feels like it changed so much more than in past years because of injuries, picking up different guys, those additions after the All-Star break. That one guy who was he here a week? I can't even remember his name and got DFA.
De Los Santos?
Yeah.
Gosh.
So crazy year, but I feel like, it's hard to say. It's a lot. Clay Holmes, blew 10 games. So him,
14.
part of the bullpen.
14.
Oh, it was 14. That's right. He had 10 in August when it was when it started to really blow up. You're right. That's right. Man, wow. Can't believe it was that many, but it makes sense. So, man, they kind of pulled it together at the end. My man, Luke Weaver, looked good.
Yes.
So I would say overall, again, Yankees having a good record and a solid season, you can't really hammer them too hard because they did help out a lot. But imagine if Clay Holmes converts half of those. We're going in with potential 12 game, a little less than that lead over Baltimore. But I gotta say, I'm gonna say C plus. C plus feels right. Going up to the, maybe the B minus, although what's really the difference between those two? C plus sounds better for them.
No, that's fair. I had B minus, so I thought very similar things. I thought, Clay Holmes was brutal as a closer. They stuck with him for too long. And like you said, this bullpen went through a lot of turnover. A lot of guys coming in and out, DFA'd, signing off of waivers, trading that didn't work. Like, a lot of different names the entire year, more than usual. But I like to think of it as the reason I want to a B minus at the end of the day, I feel like the last month and a half or so, they kind of found their collection of guys to go to with guys who came back. Hamilton's back now. Schmidt's going to be a part of that bullpen in the first round. Like you said, Weaver has been amazing. And a couple other guys. Canley's been good,
Yes,
So
Kaylee's been a nice
Canley, Hill with the lefty specialist. I just think they found a consistency, and at the end of the day, I found them more closer to a B minus, but I can't really go higher than that just because most of the year it was very up and down. This is going to be an interesting one. The fundamentals of the team, because I added this in here because I want to get your thoughts. I know a lot of people have been on the Yankees for their base running, their defense, and all that, the lack of bunting and situational hitting. So I count all that into just fundamentals. So what do you think? What would you grade their fundamentals?
D minus probably.
Okay,
I don't want to fail them because there's some guys who know what they're doing out there, but horrible. And as you and I always discuss, the fundamentals come from the manager, and it's very telling about what's going on there with that, and it's shocking. As my mother says, shocking, I tell you. To be a professional team and see some of these guys running the bases, Gleyber Torres, and my aunt had sent me that article about the stats on Soto, how bad his base running is, which, I wouldn't have really thought about. Not that I think he's great at running the bases, but I thought it was better than that. He's right in there with Gleyber as some of the worst base runners in the league. A few things here and there that, I feel like the defense, it can't be brought into the fundamentals just because that's that can be a skill on its own.
That's fair.
Fundamentals of heads up baseball, tagging up right, doing all sorts of things like that, not getting caught at third with the first or last out, things like that. Yankees were just really poor. And I'd love to see like where they as a team, if there's even, I'm sure there's a stat for that, where they ranked in terms of fundamentals. I guess, I don't know, maybe that's a stat we can
make a fucking stat for it, you think.
Together. We'll get that on the CA app. Just was not good at all. And it's hopefully they worked on it this week at the stadium a little bit. That's the thing you can't really work on at this point in the season with these guys. That's some of the things they should have been working on in the minors. But anyway, they got to tighten that stuff up. It's just not going to get you anywhere in the playoffs.
Yeah, I got my guys working on it in the back. They're working on a stat called Fundy, so we're getting there.
I thought I saw some smoke.
Yeah, my little elves. You know what, man? I had the same thing. I had D plus D. It's the same shit at the end of the day. Just it's horrible. I mean, like you said, Torres on the bases, Soto, even Jazz Chisholm, a couple times in the same series getting caught. Wells had some mishaps. Verdugo had some mishaps this year. A lot of bad base running, and that's just terrifying going into October. You make a good point with the defensive stuff, but still, there are some simple routine plays that a lot of guys just don't make. And what I don't like, it's just like you think about it overall, the Yankees have a lot of guys still playing out of position, which was one of our gripes in the past. Like Aaron Judge is a natural right fielder playing center field. Jason Dominguez is a natural center fielder playing left field. Juan Soto is a left fielder playing right field. Jazz Chisholm is playing third base when he was a really good second baseman in Miami. A lot of guys just out of position, and that's going to happen defensively when you do that. So that and the base running and some of the situational hitting has been rough. So I agree with the D. And overall, just really briefly before we dive into the playoff stuff, I'm going to give the Yankees as a unit, again, 94 wins, first place in the East, first place in the American League, a B+. Maybe that's too harsh, but it was a year where not a lot of teams won a lot of games, and they were kind of in the same boat as all those teams. So I want B+.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, so I want to, before I want to hear your hot take, but I want an X factor for this postseason. One arm and one bat. Who you think is going to come out and have themselves an important playoffs?
Okay, I'll do my hot take has to do with an arm, but I'll save it for that and I'll think of a different one. I think this, and thinking of bold, kind of trying to think of bold predictions, getting a little crazy with it. Here, my one with the arm is Carlos Rodon, C-Rod. He is going to earn his pinstripes in this playoffs. That is my bold prediction. I really, again, like I was saying, I really liked what he did this year. And you might look at the win-loss record. I can't remember what he was. He was like 16-9?
15-9? 16 or 15-9? 16
Something
or 9?
like that. So he kept the losses under double digits. And there was a period of time in the middle, like you were talking about, where it was like, oh, is he like going to go off the ledge here and be horrible? But he pulled it together and he, finished up strong. And some people were criticizing him and saying, he, making too much money for doing what he did this season. But after the first season, I was like, this is phenomenal. I don't care how much you're paying him. I just want to see those wins. And granted, maybe someone's going to say, oh, well, he should have 20 wins with a contract like that.
They got him for the playoffs, Greg. They got him for the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's pitching well right now. Hopefully he is not going to be rusty, but I think he's not going to be. And I think he's got a good mentality, really strong. And he's going to be my bold prediction to have a big postseason. In terms of a bat, roster is did the roster come out today? I did not see.
Did it?
Any? No, I don't know.
I think they said they're going to do it on Thursday or Friday, so it could have came out.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, which I'm surprised. I thought
I want to get to that later too. To remind me if I forget.
But hopefully he makes the postseason and it's Dominguez. I think he is going to have, if he's on the roster, obviously, and they're starting him, which I think they really should. He showed it in last year's, 2 years ago play, right? 2 years ago, because we didn't make it last year. He showed what he could do when he was up. Or no, am I thinking? No,
last year he came in September.
That's right. When he came up against
the Astros.
Right.
It felt like a playoff because
it wasn't.
Yeah.
He came up and hit and did really well. And I just have a feeling if they can get him onto the roster, it's going to be a big, big moment for him. If he's not, I'll do my second choice. I think Jazz is going to be a really important part of this lineup and be a big bat and contribute a lot. So we'll see.
Greg, I have the same two guys on my list here. I have Carlos Rodon and Jason Dominguez. So maybe it's a little biased because I'm a fan of both of them.
Oh my goodness.
I echo what you said. So
cheers to that.
Well put. All right. This is going to be fun. I have one hot take. Mine is, I don't think anybody on earth is, I don't even think I agree with me. That's how hot this take is. So, I'm going to wait for you first to put yours out there, and then I'll give mine.
Okay. You ready for it, everybody? Drum roll, please. Here it is. World Series MVP, Luke Weaver.
Yes.
That is my hot take.
That's not even that far fetched.
My arm. Dude. He was going to be my arm, and that's why I switched it up. I love that. So I am such a big Luke Weaver fan. I think I need a Luke Weaver jersey. He's one of my favorite players right now. I think he's got that mentality since he's moved into the closer. You see how fired up he gets?
Oh my God, it's awesome, dude.
I love how fired. I love this quote about
best.
I blacked out during it, but it was awesome with his first save. He's just awesome. His interviews entering the stadium, he's just a funny guy. He's kind of a nut, and I think he's got that really good mentality of a closer, between strong-minded and probably like Mariano, where I know I shouldn't even compare him to Mariano, but I think he can just brush things off. Mariano was, it's over, it's done, doesn't even think about it. I think Luke Weaver seems to me like he's got the personality where maybe he doesn't, maybe he's not as focused as Mariano. He's probably just goofy and like, whatever, come back tomorrow. So that's my prediction.
I like that. I can see that. I can see that happening, seriously, because if they make a run, they're going to be depending on him a lot. He's going to go multiple innings, so that could definitely happen.
Right.
Okay, this is one I'm afraid to say, but I'm going to say it. I couldn't stand this guy. I still can't stand him. He pisses me off more than maybe anybody on this team. But this is somebody who has hit in the postseason for the Yankees a couple of times. 2018, I think 2019, he went absolutely on a tear. I think he had some good moments in 2020. Last couple of postseasons, he hasn't hit. But my hot take is, if Gleyber Torres hits in the postseason again this year, it would not kill me if the Yankees re-signed him to a 1-year contract. At the end of the day, the only thing I really care about is what you do for me in October. As angry as I will get, as much as I will bitch and moan on social media, if you do your job in the playoffs, I don't care about the 162. So if Gleyber Torres has another good postseason, he's going to have put together a pretty good resume in October for himself. So I wouldn't mind a 1-year deal if that happens.
Yeah, that's a really good one. As you were talking about that, I thought you were going to say Giancarlo. I thought you were heading there, and then you were like, well, he didn't have a good playoff end, and then I'm like, wait a minute, somebody else. Wow, that's a good one. That is a really good one. Yeah. And I agree with you. If he has a monster postseason, I wouldn't mind a 1-year deal with him. One thing is, even though I have complained about him and said get him off the team, and I don't like him, but if you're right, if he produces in October, fantastic. 1-year deal. I think he's gonna want a bigger deal from somebody, but I think he does like New York. And maybe I'm a little feeling this way because we clinched the East, came in first in the East. If we lost it by a game or 2 games, then I'd be looking at the games Gleyber lost for us, whether it was a defensive lapse or a base running lapse. So he's all right now.
All right, good. All right, let's get more into the postseason. What are your thoughts overall on the rotation and how you think it's going to fare this playoffs?
So I know that they've already said it's Cole, then Rodon, and then game 3 is going to be either Heel or Schmidt, depending on what happens in games 1 and 2, meaning that if someone's going to be long relief for some reason in those games, that one of those guys will be in there. So I see Garrett Cole being Garrett Cole in the playoffs. He looked really good his last start. So I think he's going to really excel on Saturday night, Yankee Stadium, game 1. I think he's going to be fired up and pitch really well. I could see him going 7 strong easily in that game. Let's hope so. Rodon, again, like I said, I think he's going to be really, really good. And then if for some reason I think Schmidt should get the start in a game 3. He has looked really good, much more well-rested than Heel, who like we talked about, is throwing more innings than he's ever thrown. So I see the starting rotation being really good against the Royals, and I see Cole going strong. I see Rodon going, I could see him going at least 6, and then we just need to worry about 7, 8, 9, and Schmidt I see maybe going a strong 5, and then we need to really bullpen it. So, and then after that, we'll see. It's tough to predict, but I feel really good about the starting pitching. And even if they do go with Heel, I think he'll be on a short leash because I think they'll be able to see if he's just given up too many hits and having a quick yank. But I could see him pitching well and getting fired up. He seems to be pretty strong mentally as well. So I got a lot of faith and a lot of hope for this starting rotation.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I think I've got all my confidence back with Cole. After seeing how he finished the year, he's the ace. He's going into the postseason on a high note. He throws a complete game against Oakland. He shuts down Baltimore, the biggest game of his season. He's looked good. Like the stuff since he's come back still looks very good. The fastball may not be as hard as it used to, but he's shown you that he's still very capable of dialing up to 97, 98 when he needs to. He's been going to the curveball a lot more this year, and that looks pretty good. The cutter's even been better of late, which hasn't been a pitch I've loved from him in the past, but it's working lately. Slider is still a good pitch. The only thing I worry about with Cole is that the long layoff, right? Cole is a creature of habit. He's the kind of guy where he wants every single thing to be exactly the way it always is. So I hope, the 5-6 days, whatever it's been since he's pitched, doesn't really get to him. Because he is, when he's off, he's prone to to blow up. I think the only bad starts he's had this year have been really bad blow up games against Boston and the Mets. So, if it's one thing goes wrong, I'm just a little worried that he's going to blow up. But other than that, you got to have faith in Garrett Cole. He's their ace. He's been money for them in the playoffs for the most part. So I have confidence in him. Carlos Rodon, I agree, is probably going to be the game 2 guy. He's been really good at home. Another guy with great stuff. The upside's there with him. He's got the hard fastball. He likes to go slider, back door, front door. And he's diversified his pitch mix this year. He's shown more confidence in the changeup, to right-handed hitters. He's going away. Very good numbers on the changeup. The curveball, he's going to it occasionally. So he's not just fastball slider anymore. He's showing more with his secondary off-speed pitches. He could also easily blow up too. One thing goes wrong with Rodon. Usually you'll know early on in the game if he's on. But the one thing I worry about is he is prone to giving up home runs. He allowed 31 this year. 21 of them came off the fastball. 10 of the 10 other ones have come off of hanging off speed pitches. So if he's confident in that fastball, if he's going out there throwing 97 like he can sometimes, then I'll have confidence in him. But usually you will know right away with Carlos Rodon. And then game 3. I think they're probably going to do Heel. Everything they've been saying and indicating to us says it's probably going to be Luis. And that's another guy who can throw very hard, 97, 98. Great upside with him, man. The slider's got great movement since he changed up the grip on it. The changeup is a very effective secondary off-speed pitch for him. It's his rookie year, so he's had some ups and downs like everybody else. But I think the good thing is Kansas City only saw him for 5 innings this year. They haven't really gotten any looks at him. So, he hasn't shown them much, which is a good thing to me. And he's probably going to be on the short leash just because he has his control issues. He could walk runs in. That could be a big issue in the playoffs. If he's off, all it takes is one start where you don't have your control. And then, sometimes it's also command with him, right? David Cohen talks a lot on the telecast about control versus command. Command is when you're, not throwing strikes where you want them to be. So I think sometimes with Luis, when he doesn't have his pinpoint accuracy, the off-speed pitches can hang, and then he becomes batting practice. But I think it's a solid 3, man. I've got some confidence in them too. And then, if you got Clark Schmidt, emergency starting pitcher, or, probably coming out of the bullpen in the first round as a long man, it's a good rotation. So I would agree. I would echo your thoughts there. And then your thoughts on the bullpen entering the playoffs.
Yeah, bullpen, like we talked about, looking pretty good at the end. I just wanted to add one of the things that's going to hopefully help the starting rotation is that the Royals only scored 4 runs in 2 games against the Orioles, right? It was 3-1
Yeah.
and 1-0. So hopefully that's a sign where those guys are not playing very well.
Good point.
And I didn't really watch those games, so I couldn't give you anything on what their at-bats were, but not a lot of runs scored, so hopefully that's going to translate to some of those guys slumping. You're right about the off time. Unfortunately, that happens with those pitchers, like you said, and Cole being a creature of habit. So, yeah, fingers crossed that they come out and are sharp. The bullpen, I think it's got a really good combination of Canely pitching really well down the stretch. If Holmes can be effective, I would definitely have him earlier. Like if you're looking for somebody, I don't want to see him in the 8th. Definitely don't want to see him in the 9th. I'll take him in the 6th or 7th, maybe.
Yeah.
But he really scares me. Canely has looked good. Weaver has looked phenomenal. Let's see. Other guys in there who have been pretty effective. The rest of those guys have been effective. Hill,
Cousins, if he's healthy.
Yeah, I haven't heard the latest on him with that pec issue, right? I think that's what it turned out to be.
You're worried about that because that's like right near the arm, so you hope it doesn't bother him.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I have not heard the latest on that one. Who's still in there?
Tim Hill, Tommy Canely, Ian Hamilton.
Oh, Hamilton. I am the murderer.
Yeah.
Looked really good at times, and then I forget what game it was where he got just slapped around. Did not look good. Was that the Orioles? The Orioles.
He had a couple of outings at the end.
Yeah. But if you get him being sharp, he's a really great pitcher. Not great. He's a very good pitcher who can be really effective. So I like that. And I really love Weaver being in there. He gives me some hope over Holmes. I hope they don't even try and get cute and say, oh, Clay Holmes is pitching well, let's put him in the 9th. I really hope not. I think they've learned their lesson. But overall, it's a decent pen. Would I like it to be better? Sure. But I don't have 100% confidence in them. I don't think anybody does of any bullpen. But it's pretty good right now, I think. But you never know. We'll see. Hopefully, the bullpen is where those guys, I don't know how many appearances, but that's the part that needs the rest, I think, the most. Although again, guys can come out and be, all over the place from not throwing real game pitching. But with a rested bullpen over, 5, some guys probably 6 days, I feel good about it.
Yeah. You know what, man? The way I look at it is like with the bullpen, they've got the pieces to the puzzle. What I'm concerned about is the guy working on the fucking puzzle. I don't trust the guy at the head here with his decision making. That's what concerns me. The way modern baseball is, you're pulling some of these starters so early because you're worried about the analytics, 3rd time through the order, whatever it is. I just worry about Boone's decision making. He's already come out and said that they're going to use Holmes in tight spots in October. So that scares the hell out of me. I'm also worried about, Cashman's ego. If he wants to put Mark Leiter on the roster just because he traded for him. And, he's a good kid. Man, I wanted Leiter to do well too, but it just hasn't looked good enough for him to make a roster. And so I worry about things like that, decision making. But the core, like we said, is there. You got Weaver, you got Hamilton, where if he's right, he's 98 miles an hour. He's got the Slombio pitch that he's throwing. Tommy Canely looks really good with the changeup. Jay Cousins with that wipeout slider, if he's healthy, that'd be huge. And then Tim Hill, your lefty specialist with the different arm angle, getting ground balls. So I think they have those pieces where they can figure it out. I just hope the manager does the right things. And then what are your thoughts on the lineup entering the playoffs? The way I look at it, I'll start and then you can wrap this up regarding the lineup. I think they've got obviously the power, which is probably the number one thing in this game. You need power in modern baseball. They've got Soto, they've got Judge, they've got Giancarlo. This is a team who led baseball in home runs this year. I think they've got the balance. They've got lefties and righties and a couple of switch bats. They've got that down pat. They've got a good, decent blend of youth and vets in that lineup. You know, they got some guys with athleticism, Jazz, Volpe, Dominguez, Cabrera, even John Birdie if he makes it. They got some guys with experience, like we talked about Torres, Stanton. Soto's got, you know, the 2019 World Series run that he went on. So I think those are the positives with this lineup. And then some of the negatives I have here before I toss it to you. I've been vocal about this. Hitting left-handed pitching scares the hell out of me. It's kind of become a thing this year with them. So you're going against Kansas City in a 5-game series. They've got Cole Reagans, who shut them down for 6 innings last time they faced him. And they've got about, I want to say, 4 lefties in their bullpen. And then once you get to the back of the bullpen, they've got that guy Urseg, who's a righty, but he's still very effective versus lefties. So I'm afraid, you know, I'm just a little bit afraid of the way they've handled left-handed pitching this year. I'm a little afraid of Aaron Judge. I think Aaron Judge has been abysmal the last 3 postseasons. He's had some moments earlier in his career, 2017, but it's going to come down at the end of the day to Aaron Judge needing to hit, or else nothing else really matters. And then, you know, there are a couple holes in this lineup. First base is kind of a question mark. Where are you getting production? Shortstop has been a hole all year with Volpe. And then left field's, you know, kind of a question mark as well, because, you know, Dominguez, while he has some upside, hasn't exactly hit. Verdugo hasn't hit. So what are your overall thoughts on this lineup entering the postseason? Maybe some pros and cons.
Yeah, you know, like you said, this lineup is going to be determined. What they do is going to be determined by Judge, and Judge has not shown up in the playoffs. I am hoping that this year he's rested, you know, no injuries that we know of, and he's feeling really healthy, and he's got to do it. You know, it's the time. You got to put up or shut up. You're making $40 million a year, sign that big contract. This is what you are here for. So I have some faith that he's going to turn it around. I think he's going to do really well, especially with that combo of having Soto in front of him. Soto, I'm not worried about him. I think the guy just can hit in his sleep. So I think this lineup, like we talked about with the consistency, Glaber hitting pretty well and being a consistent force in that leadoff spot.
Yep.
Soto, Judge, you know, Wells, Giancarlo, he's a big playoff performer. I think he just lives for this, and I have a lot of faith in that. I would probably move him up the cleanup based on who's pitching instead of 5th in this lineup. Wells, you know, he's been up and down this year, shows moments of greatness. Jazz, I think, can be a really big part of this lineup. But, you know, like you said, there are some holes in this lineup. Like, what are you know, and they still need to, like we've been talking about, who's going to be playing left field? I think Verdugo should not be on the roster. I would rather have him on the roster.
Yes.
Ben Rice, you know, if everybody saw that clip where he took Garrett Cole deep in batting practice the other day, that was a nice shot. I loved it. There was an empty stadium and you heard it go boom. Yeah. So he hit that hard. He's an X factor. You know, he went back down to the minors and just raked. So is that mean he's hitting well and learned a little bit from his first stint in MLB? Who knows? Maybe he'll be the Greg Bird of this.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to fucking interrupt you and say that. Yes.
That would be outstanding. The Birdman Part 2. But like we said, the big guys have to hit. And I think the lefty, you know, against lefties is a very concerning part of this. And it's, you know, I feel like they need to get creative. with it. And I know everybody doesn't want to hear it, but some guys, you got to lay down a bunt. They should know how to bunt. Guys with speed, Jazz.
A good point.
Boldy knows how to bunt. Get on base. This is the playoffs. You got to scratch
anything.
Get anything you can to get on base, and that is the key. Put the ball in play and see what happens. You never know. It's kind of like, every pitch matters, and that's what I love about watching the playoffs. Like, you live and die on every pitch, every at bat, and you got to do anything you can to get on base. And if that means bunting and not waiting for the home run, then do it. But I know that the Yankees probably won't, but I would love to see it. I'm pretty sure Cabrera can bunt. He might get some play at first base. I don't know. Birdie's really fast, which I had no idea Birdie was so fast. He was going as a pinch runner. I don't know. He seems like a solid baseball guy. He probably knows how to bunt. Volpe can put some good bunts down. So I really would love to see them utilize that in games that maybe a lefty is just dealing and nobody's getting any hits against them. So be creative. I've got faith in it. I really think we can get past the Royals, even with their really quality pitching. Even if it's like eking out 2 runs to their 1 run, and that's a lot of times that's playoff baseball, pretty much never is a 10-9 game, but just gotta grind out those at bats.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I think people need to temper their expectations because in the playoffs, pitching gets better. So you're not going to see, 7-8 run games. You're going to see a lot of 4 runs, a lot of 3 runs. It's just, who scores more. But I think there is enough depth there to, have confidence. Wells had, considering he was a rookie catcher, I thought he had a very good season. Capable lefty. Jazz Chisholm, same thing, another lefty with upside. Gleyber Torres, like you said, was a consistent on-base threat in the second half. Stanton has the resume. Dominguez has the upside there, so I can see him, like you said, being that X factor. Even Verdugo, if they play him, which I think they're going to carry him, and I have a feeling it's going to be matchup dependent with left field. I think what you're going to see them do is Dominguez will probably start most games, but like they did one of the games in against Pittsburgh, is they'll pull Dominguez, late in the game for defense for Verdugo or Grisham, whoever's on there. And first base is interesting, whether they go with Rice or Cabrera. I think I saw they're going to carry Rice. I think I saw a report that said that, which, that's a lefty presence. He's got a great eye. That's one of the things I noticed when he came up. He doesn't chase. He stays in the zone. And, a lot of the nerds like that he did hit the ball hard, and they said it was a lot of bad luck. So if you're banking on positivity there, maybe there's something in Rice's bat to where he can have that Greg Bird type postseason. But you're a little concerned about the defense. I think with Rizzo gone now, he was picking it at first base. I know he got off to a rough start at first this year, but since he came back, he was saving a lot of bad throws from Chisholm, from Volpe, Torres. So you're worried about, Rice doesn't have a ton of reps there. He's more of a natural catcher. And if they go with Cabrera, he has been hitting, but same with him. They just started playing him at first base really in late August, early September. So that's a question mark defensively. Left field's a question mark, both ends of the ball. But overall, like you said, I'm pretty confident going around the diamond. Just a couple questions here and there, but you'd like to believe that every team has them. Now we're going to wrap it up with the playoff roster. So I made my little playoff roster. I'm going to read you what I have. And then at the end, I want you to tell me what you think, if you think there should be changes, if you think I left out a couple of guys that you might add in. So I've got my top 3 being Cole, Rodon, Heel. Then in the bullpen, I have Schmidt, Weaver, Hamilton, Canely, Holmes, Cousins, Tim Hill. So that's 10 guys. That's 10 arms. In position players, Torres, Soto, Judge, Wells, Stanton, Cabrera, I think they're going to carry him. Volpe, Jazz, Trevino, obviously, as the backup catcher. Verdugo, I think they're going to carry him just the way they're treating him. Dominguez, I have him also being carried, that leaves us with 11 bats, 11 arms, so 21 guys. And then there's still 5 spots for 8 guys. I think Leiter's a question mark. Stroman's a question mark on whether he'll make it. Tim Meza is a question mark. Cody Poteet. Clayton Beater is a candidate. Scott Efros might be a candidate. And then John Birdie and Ben Rice are candidates as well. I don't think Leiter and Stroman are making it. According to a couple of reports that I saw, they're on the outside looking in. I think that's what your guy Hoke said. Meza, it sounds like he's going to make it because I did see a report saying they're leaning towards putting him on because he's lefty. Yeah, John Birdie, so. I think will make it because of his versatility and his speed. A couple of big runs that he scored when the Yankees were hitting those walk-offs in September. Poteet has looked good every time they've won to him. He gives you length out of the pen. He could be an emergency starter. And I think with the Cortez injury, they might have him on the roster. And then Clayton Beater would make 26 guys. I don't think Efros makes it. So I think Clayton Beater might be that last guy. So those are just some of the guys who I think will make it. Just your overall thoughts on what you think the playoff roster should be. You don't have to go 1 to 26, but just give me your brief thoughts on that.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything. The only thing I differentiate with you on is Heel in the bullpen, Schmidt being that third starter. Yeah. I kind of have a feeling they're going to do that maybe. And then, I think I have Grisham on my mind only because I read that article that I sent to you today, and it just makes me think he really takes advantage of his at-bats. Throughout the season, it seemed like every time he got the opportunity to start, he was hitting a home run or a big double or something. And, he showed that against Pittsburgh. Was it the final game in Pittsburgh where he had the double and the home run? I think that were the difference makers to win that game. There's just something about him that, it's not something. It's that taking advantage of the opportunities you're getting. And I understand Verdugo is probably the safer option because, he really can come off the bench and just hit a surprise home run. But I feel like, and he's been in the playoffs before. Grisham, with the Padres, I don't even know if he's been in the playoffs with them. Probably, right? I think. Either way,
yeah.
I'll just say like a surprise move where I think Grisham is in and Verdugo isn't. But I agree with you with Meza. He's the other lefty, and I think they really need another lefty in there. I forgot about Clayton Beater. Poteet, I really like Poteet. I think he's got a lot of upside. So
good changeup.
To see what happens with him. And I could see him being in there as a long reliever because the bag of milk is leaking. That's Nestor Cortez to everybody who's like,
yeah, that's I stole that from somebody on Twitter, by the way. So not mine. No, I agree. I don't know. Yeah, I'm very curious to see which outfielder they carry. I can't see them carrying 5 outfielders. So it's definitely going to be one of Verdugo or Grisham probably. So you make a good point there. But yeah, man, that's pretty much it.
I think Rice is going to make it. I think Rice is going to be the starting first baseman. And then I would love to see, I can't remember where we're at with spots. I would love to see Cabrera on there, and I'd like to see Birdie on there. Just because of this, newfound speed that I hear he has. I really don't remember that guy. Maybe because he was injured for a big part of the year, but
so that would make sense to carry Birdie and Cabrera on the bench. I'm curious, man. These matchups are going to be interesting to see who they go with at these certain positions. But I think the guys who are definitely locked into their spots, Judge, obviously Soto, Stanton. Stanton could be matchup dependent too, actually, but you can get very flexible at DH and outfield. But I think Judge, Soto, Jazz, Volpe, and Torres. So like the five guys who are going to be in there every day. And then there's, the other guys could be matchup dependent. The Yankees really like to do that stuff. So it should be interesting, man.
Yeah. I don't know what Cabrera as opposed to Birdie, what Cabrera's lefty righty splits are. But I bet you they'll look at that, and if one favors, I think Rice is going to be there at first, but I know Birdie and Cabrera and Rice were working with Rizzo this week at first base. So I could see them if Cabrera doesn't have great splits against left-handers and Birdie does, I could see them saying putting Birdie on the roster over Cabrera. I don't even know what, like I said, I don't know where we are at with the numbers. But
I lost track
between those two. Although Cabrera can play so many different positions too. I think Birdie can too, though. I think he plays a lot of different areas. So it's going to be interesting between those guys and seeing what happens at first base.
Yeah, I think both will make it, honestly. But that's the roster, man. I think the guys you're leaving off are probably lighter. Stroman, at least for the first round. A couple other guys. So I'm confident, man. This is the most confident I've been, maybe going back to 2019, and then if you go back further after that, since like 2009. So this is one of the greater teams. It's weird to say that because it's been such a weird season, a lot of ups and downs, but like it's a good roster, man. It's a roster that could easily come out of this American League this year. So those are all my thoughts. So if you want to add anything and wrap up with that.
Yeah. No, I like you. I've got a lot of hope and feeling good about it. And, I think we've seen, as Yankee fans, we have seen such incredible rosters and all the World Series teams just dominating the season pretty much from what I can recall, or at least that's the feelings I have, where this one, there's a lot of question marks. Things weren't like 2009 being like, the season of the walk-offs. It was 13 walk-offs. And it just seemed like, wow, this team is destined to go far. This team, there's been so many question marks. There's been a lot of turnover, injuries, what have you. And it's like you said, it's probably one of the best seasons in a bunch of years where we have this hope. But it's not a dominant team like those other World Series teams. But it matches up with the rest of the league that there's a really good shot. I heard somebody saying that if Aaron Boone doesn't get the Yankees to the World Series this year, there's never going to be a time and that he should get fired. And, I've kind of been saying he should get fired for years. Hopefully that is the case if we don't get to the World Series. But then I'll take him for another 3 years if we win a World Series this year. So just get us one. That's all I want. It's been so long.
Just one, man. You know how much. If he gets just one championship for us, so many people will get off his back, including me, including you. Like it's that's all it takes. Just win a championship and we're good, man. It's been too long. 15 years in a row. Yeah. You're spending all this money. You got to win a championship. This is the window to do it too. I've spoken to you about it. Like, you can't imagine that when the Yankees signed Cole to that contract, they envisioned it at age 34, whatever he is now. So it's like they need to get it done now. They've got a bunch of guys on expiring deals. You don't know what the Soto situation is going to end up being. Your second baseman might leave. Your closer or once closer is on an expiring contract. Left field is a question mark. You got Jones coming up. You got Dominguez. You got a log jam in the outfield with DH. So there are a lot of first base questions. You don't really have answers in the farm. Maybe it's Ben Rice. Maybe you move Judge over there next year. There are so many questions going into the offseason to where that all goes away temporarily if you just win a championship. Nobody's going to worry about that shit. So win a championship and whatever happens after that's good. So, yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on, dude. I'm sorry, I had to do this in a different setting, but I appreciate you.
Oh, that's all right. Whatever it is. So I've got, I've been working on my statistics and calculations.
I was going to ask about what
for the
this
Yankees
is.
World Series, and I don't want to give it away because, the Royals might be scouting it, but I'll let everybody look a little bit.
I was like, what is that?
2025 World Series victory formulas.
You got analytics on that thing?
Look at it. There's a lot of numbers.
Wow.
Not everybody understands it. Luke Weaver at the top here. I have done this is Juan Soto's route to the World Series MVP. It's 9 G4 rating.
That's my favorite stat.
I know you. And then on the other side, we've got, Aaron Boone's baking list to make his cookies after the game, flour, obviously sugar.
Yeah.
Yankee fans, don't worry. We have it right here. And I'm emailing it tonight to Cashman, Hal, Boone, Judge. So we're good.
Wow.
Don't worry, guys. It's all right here.
Please put that back up for a second. I want to read some of that. Hold on a second. I need to see some of these things here.
See some of these things.
These are my favorite, Greg. These are my favorite stats.
I knew it. I actually did. Did you?
You got my initials on there. You got RJC.
It's reversed, isn't it?
You got RJC on there. You got my initials.
Oh yeah, that's the RJC.
You got the BD4 app.
The BD4 app. That's
Yep. Wow.
I've had my team working on it, and I've developed some of these statistics. This is the Martian special ratings over there. It's just don't worry.
You got the chicken farm stat.
You see the chicken parm stat? Yeah, that's a good one. My team developed that. It's the chicken parm minus the 36 to the fourth power over 74 degrees. I don't know if you know that. That is very important launch angle. And he's top set. One of the best.
This is some really, really good work by your group, Greg. Yeah. I got to get my analytics group to match yours. I will take a picture
of this for you and send it to you so you have it. You can have it as a companion while you're watching the World Series and we win. And then Luke Weaver gets us number 28.
Yeah, that's
28. 27 to 28.
To 28. That's the stat.
Done.
I might have to. I might need those ingredients for Uncle Booney's Bakery on the side there. So send that whole thing to me,
that's
please.
That's a little secret. Giving it away a little bit on here, but
fair.
Secret sauce.
That's fair. Please put that on Twitter. Censor what you need to censor.
I'm gonna. Yeah. I'll black out some of the real important things I don't want the Royals to see because I know they got spies everywhere. But got it covered.
That's fucking brilliant, Greg. Thank you.
Oh, anytime. Maybe I'll get a job on the CA app. I'll get a.
Okay, so that was episode 717. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Greg, it's always a good time to have him on the show. That's Greg Gill from Yankee Crazy Podcast. We discussed a lot, and so I hope you guys enjoyed it. We unpacked a whole lot in that. We graded the regular season. We talked about our confidence levels entering the postseason with certain units on the Yankees. We gave some X factors, a couple of hot takes, went over the playoff roster, some defensive questions, some matchup stuff. We gave our final thoughts, and then we wrapped it up there with Greg's formula to success, his analytics formula to success. Awesome stuff there. Real fun. So hope you guys enjoyed the show. That is going to do it for episode 717 of BD4. I appreciate you all tuning in. We're going to wrap it up here at an hour and 10 minutes. Appreciate you all for sticking all the way through. Thank you so much. And folks, I believe We're going to try to get one more episode out, one more playoff preview out before Saturday night. So look forward to that. If I cannot get to that, I will see you in the midst of the ALDS. We're doing episodes every 2 games, and after the series, we'll also do an episode where we tip our caps to who was best in the series like usual. But every 2 games, each series, we're going to record. So it'll be multiple times a series. But as I said, 718 should be out with a third guest doing a playoff preview part 3. So that should be coming up soon, but I hope you all enjoyed 717 with Greg Gill. Folks, that's it. I appreciate you all very much. I'll see you in the next show. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.
Hey there! If you stayed the entire way through, we thank you immensely for it. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you come back for the next episode real soon. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, download these episodes, and share them with your friends as well. BD4 is a 5-star podcast simply because of you, and we'd like to keep it that way. Have a wonderful day. Go Yankees, and go Knicks!